And hello, South Florida. Welcome to the ATM edition of the Real Estate Show. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that means that it is Thursday already, our fourth day of the week, where we're live here 5 days a week, broadcasting on five different medium. Number one, on our AM station. Number two, on the FM stations, all part of the WWNN Money Talk Radio. You can also find us on the apps like the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, the radio.com app, and even WWNN has their very own app that you can just tune in and take us with you on the go. We also have our fourth way. You can go to our website, tried and true. If you forget everything else, you remember automaticlandlord.com. That's automaticlandlord.com. Go to the top of the page, click on the real estate show notes, and in each one of the notes is embedded a link to listen to yesterday's show, before yesterday's show, the day before yesterday's show. And of course, if you're there live at 5, then you can listen to the live show on our website as well. So streaming live or on demand as you wish. And you can also catch us on our Facebook page. We have a Facebook live broadcast going on right now. And all you have to do is go to facebook.com/The Real Estate Show. So we've had a pretty exciting week. Every week seems to be exciting right now, whether, it's about the pandemic, it's about the market, the stock market, and the real estate market, all of which, are just, right now, lots going on. And the good thing, the stock market has its up and down days. The real estate market has just been, chugging ahead. And as I said, as we had a little bit of a slowdown, a little bit of an increase in the inventory, that is actually good news for the real estate market, because that is sustainable, which means that, either we're sort of hitting to that point where affordability is going to slow down all of the enthusiasm, give you more inventory to choose from. And so this week, every week we start out the week talking about a specific theme, and this week, following last week's all about the moratorium, this week we're talking about being a landlord. If you're not a landlord and would like to be one, and you would like our special report on how to become a landlord, text the word landlord for a free report to 561-861-2366. Once again, that's 561-861-2366. And it'll automatically be generated. First, it'll confirm, make sure that they've got the right information to send it back to you. And then it'll be all done automatically. After all, how else would you expect the automatic landlord to operate? And so we've been talking about being a landlord. If you already are one, the trials and the tribulations, but the big rewards. More millionaires have been being created by real estate, and mostly because of property ownership. There's lots of different ways to invest in real estate, and we talked about those. In fact, on Monday, we kind of laid out the definitions, some of the terminology. Tuesday, we went deep into, in our tools, tips, and techniques, we started talking about, number one, the first and easiest entry point that most people start looking at investing in real estate is what's called wholesaling, or, finding properties to immediately resell. It goes by a lot of names. Probably wholesaling is the most. And we talked about why today it's tougher to get involved in real estate that way, because that involves buying properties at a deep discount. And when you've got people lining up in multiple offer situations, it's pretty hard to get a deep discount when right around the corner, there's somebody else already offering full contract value, and even in some cases going over list price. So that's one way. And we talked about the percentages. We talked about the characteristics. We talked about the profile of what a wholesaler is really like. I kind of call him the deal finder. And his added value is that he's in touch, or she is in the marketplace and has access to information, networks, and so forth that most people otherwise don't. We then also talked about the next level up, who can pay a little bit more for properties than the deep discount, which is the rehabber, often known from the TV shows as the flipper, the person who finds a property at some discount, thanks to the needed repairs, adds value by making those repairs, and then markets those properties out to the retail end user and makes his profit based on the small discount, but the large improvement that they generally make. Their skill, their profile is somebody who's a good project manager, knows how to estimate costs very well. In fact, in every one of these, you got to know how to get your real estate value down, because that's the premise of everything else. And we talked about how, the percentages and and all of this is, by the way, in the show. So if you want to go more deep into these conversations, again, number one, get the report. 561-861-2366. Just text the word landlord there. Now, then we got into the real nuts and bolts of a landlord, and we started talking about a landlord is more of an investor, of a long-term investor. I would say, while I don't personally consider real estate to be a very speculative, if you do your homework, for example, in the wholesaler, if you do it right, there's virtually no risk in wholesaling, because you're just putting properties under contract, and then you go and resell the contract. And if the contract doesn't resell, you got certain safeguards built in. You do it right, and there's really no risk. The riskier one is the flipper, because they buy the property, they invest money in the repairs, and if they either time it wrong or estimate it wrong, I would say that that's probably the biggest risk. And yet TV loves these guys, and that's where you see all of these programs, and they completely gloss over the fact that if you don't have your market estimates right, if you don't have your construction estimates right, and if you don't have your timing estimates right, the holding costs can eat you up, the market changes can eat you up, and so forth. I'm not saying it's a bad way. In fact, I'm saying it's a great way to make money. And in fact, a great investor knows how to do all of these, and will then look at the property not so much by, because I get this question all the time, like, how do I market? And the idea is, you got to market for motivated sellers of all kinds, but depending on what financing they have in place, whether they're right side up or upside down with their mortgage, whether the property is in good repair, then it depends where on the estate ladder that I'm leading you up, what kind of offer you can make, or what kind of different offers you can make, to find out where that sweet spot is, where the seller is ready to sell. And this is the key. And this is why some people, right, we're able to get offers accepted in a market like this, because we don't have only a one size fits all, approach to this business. So where a wholesaler has to get a deep discount, the flipper has to get some discount. A landlord, a buy and hold investor doesn't really need that much of a discount. But what he does have to be careful with is that the property will cash flow. That's the whole crux of all of this. Now, sometimes we can get the best of both worlds, get a little bit of equity in the process, a rate of return on the purchase and on the cash flow. And that's the best of both worlds. But in a competitive market right now, if you can get in and secure your place, and if you're, as I am, optimistic about the future of real estate, not just last year, or not just this year, not just next year, but over a longer period of time. And if you listen to yesterday's midweek report, I went into those numbers, and even some very interesting reports where we talked about these numbers, the expectations, what the experts are saying, the amount of appreciation that's expected, the size of the global rental market. And today I want to talk a little bit in our ATM, or About the Money edition. I want to talk about two things in particular. Number one, I want to continue the conversation about the U.S. rental market. And that's going to be a very good insight as to, again, why now is a good time to be buying, in spite of the what I'll call the excited market, and that's good news for real estate. But there's fundamental reasons why it's not just exciting, it's good business sense right now to own and to purchase real estate if you do it right, and if you follow the numbers. And this is all about the math. You got to take the emotion out. You've got to take, the excitement that you see in the marketplace, and understand, again, those numbers. Understand what is the property worth today, and without counting on the fact that the property will go up. If you were just to assume not all of the numbers that I gave you yesterday about the expected appreciation over the next several years, but if you were just to assume a flat, and this is why, remember how I've explained on many of our shows why real estate is the ideal investment. Because even in a flat market, which we're not in, but even in a flat market, if you can buy a property that has cash flow, you've got the income, you've got tax favored income with a number of tax advantages that allow you to shelter some, all, or at least part of the income. So you have tax advantaged income. You've got equity buildup through the systematic pay down of the mortgage by your buy and hold occupants, the tenants. And so even with a flat market, you would be building equity, not just from your down payment, but by the reduction of the principal, the principal payments made for you by the tenants. A couple weeks ago, we talked about what I used to call the college graduate millionaires plan, and what I said, and if you want to learn more about this, then contact us. But I showed that over a 40-year career, it wouldn't matter what your income was. You just have to have income. But if you were to follow the steps that I outlined, that you could retire with lifetime income and more than $1 million in net worth, even if you were an artist, whatever occupation out there, but all you had to do, what you were going to do anyway, which you're either going to pay rent or you're going to pay a mortgage. Today, it's cheaper to pay a mortgage than it is to pay rent. And that's why, another reason why today having rental properties, buy and hold real estate, is the right approach in this marketplace, as long as you know how to do the numbers. So what I'm going to do is take a quick break here, a few words from our sponsors. I want to give you some of that foundation, that background numbers that I was telling you about. Then we're going to go into an example of what numbers to look for, and I'll give you a 5-second way to spot a property that makes sense to, and what you can offer on the property in order to make it make sense and make profit, most of all, the most important thing. So we're going to go ahead and take that quick break. You're listening to The Real Estate Show. Don't touch that dial. Don't change that channel, because we'll be right back. Ray, how are you? Belmira Medeiros. That's a nice Portuguese last name, isn't it? So who else we got going there? There's John Hay, Felipe. So how's your week going? Seems like the weeks go by faster and faster and faster. Another Eric. Hey, Eric, how you doing? We're on our break here, but we'll be right back on the air. I have the opportunity to go ahead and take a quick sip here. So we've been seeing some neat little opportunities that are popping up with sort of what I see as a little bit of a pause in the marketplace. And I think part of that was everyone was on the edge with the moratoriums and not knowing what was going to happen. There was a pause. And I think once we see some clarity with that, I think you're going to start seeing a little bit more direction and perhaps even a resumption. But, there isn't a day, there isn't another surprise in the marketplace. Most recently now looks like we're going back a little heavier into Afghanistan. What does that have to do with real estate, right? And welcome back. For those of you just joining us here on The Real Estate Show, my name is Eric Willner. You're listening to South Florida's #1 program about real estate. You're listening to America's longest running daily radio show about real estate. That's right, daily. We are here Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. on. That is during the week. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, 5 different ways: AM, FM. Find all that information on our website at automaticlandlord.com. That's automaticlandlord.com. Now, before the break, I was also explaining that number one, if you want our landlord report, a summary of all that we've been talking about this whole week, then join us on Sunday, and you can listen to the entire week's shows all back to back starting at 9 p.m. So in addition to our 5 live shows, there's a rebroadcast on Sunday nights. Now, you can also get that report that I mentioned simply by texting the word landlord right now. Text landlord to 561-861-2366. It's an auto reply, 561-861-2366. Now, we were talking yesterday about the world rental market, to just give you the trillions of dollars in market value that the world U.S. Rental market is. Now, according to Research Markets, the U.S. Market is also enormous. One of the interesting ones, probably one of that's top of mind, you hear a lot about the vacation rental market, the Airbnb. The world's largest hotel is not a hotel at all now. And it is a component of the greater residential market. And it's expected to reach $113 billion by 2027, expanding at a rate of 3.4% over the forecast period. Let's see here, the global real estate market. I wanted to the estimate. I had those numbers. Now, the recovering U.S. rental market, and it's interesting. They were talking about what are the challenges of it, right? Government regulations. The moratorium is a prime example of that. Construction costs. And all that does is limit the supply. Now, the demand doesn't diminish because people have to live somewhere. And that's one of the beautiful things about being in real estate. It is one of the fundamentals, food, shelter, and transportation. We are in the shelter providing business. And shelter is something, the economies can go up and can go down. The prices can go up and can go down. But unlike other industries that have vanished, Blockbuster Video, right? Circuit City. This market here will never vanish as long as there are human beings on the planet. And if there are no human beings on the planet, we don't have to worry about the real estate market. We have a whole different set of worries. Now, multifamily and apartment business is another interesting business that was sort of hit in the COVID, particularly because people wanted to spread out and not be in such close proximity, right? The social distancing. But we're seeing that come back right now, and in fact flourish in areas that before weren't as high demand, because now with the ability to work remotely and virtually, that now if I can live anywhere, well, I'd rather live somewhere that's not as congested, that's not as, maybe better weather for whatever suits me. Whether you like cold weather, go live in the cold weather. You like warm weather, go live in the warm weather. And apparently a lot more people, and you can see by the numbers, over 1,000 people moving to Florida per day, like the warm weather. So let's talk about a couple of key questions that you should be looking at. And if you're out there speaking to someone to help you with the rental market, they ought to know these things. And like I said, if you want us to help you with that, I'm going to give you a phone number, and I'm also going to give you the text number in just a minute. But what properties should you buy or sell is the first question, and that begs a little bit more of a conversation of what are your goals? What term of, what's your investment horizon? What is your investment resources that you have? Are you starting with little to no money? Are you starting with a whole bunch of money? Those make a difference in ultimately where you can and where you should invest. Then it also gives us an indication of whether you be talking about, condos, townhouses. Should you be talking about single family houses? Should be talking about small multi-unit, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. And as soon as you get into the 5 unit, and not everyone understands this, but once you get into the 5 units and above, you're talking about commercial real estate, which is a whole different ball game when it comes to financing, how to evaluate and value properties, etc. And there's advantages and disadvantages to each one of those. That's why that first question is so important, that I don't find a lot of real estate agents asking that of their clients. They ask questions like, where do you want to live? How big of a house do you want? And not thinking about the end game. And that's why I say that whether you're listening to the Real Estate Show as a first-time home buyer, and whether you're listening to the Real Estate Show as a 21st time home buyer or a 21st time investment buyer, take some of this advice to heart, even in your personal residence, because when it comes time to sell, and there will be a time to sell, whether it's the statistical 5 to 7 years, or whether it's at the end of 30 years or retirement, you will sell, and you want to maximize your investment in the real estate that will reward you if you do these things right. What is this a good time to enter the rental property business? And I've given you a lot of statistics and a lot of reasons why the answer, in my opinion, is yes. And it's something that we're doing. We don't just talk about this in theory, but we talk about this in the sense that we're going to help you, as we're helping our other investors, not only to help find, select, filter, analyze, and then when it comes to putting tenants in the property, screening them properly, setting up the way, all of that information, check out our information on our website at automaticlandlord.com. Get the report by texting the word landlord to 561-861-2366 right now. That's 561-861-2366, and get the answers to these questions. Is it a good time to launch a property management business? Well, how serious of a portfolio are you looking to build? Is it, if you don't have a property manager, you are the property manager. And are you a good property manager? Is it, what demographic should I target? And now we're talking about, are we looking at, blue collar, worker level properties? Are we talking about upper middle class? Are we talking about luxury? Talking about Airbnb or the temporary or transitory market? Or maybe we're talking about the commercial market. All of these questions start from the very first one: what properties should I buy, sell, and or rent? Why are rents high, and how secure are those rents right now? And that's an interesting question, right? I would tell you, there's something called a compression factor in the rental market. There's only so much that rents can go down before they can't go to zero. But when you're in the higher markets, there's more ability for there to be compression in a downturn or in a tighter market, or where there's ample supply. There's also less demand in the higher market because there's less people that make the kind of money they can pay $10,000, $15,000 a month for rent, even though you'd be surprised right now how that's available. Then, are urban apartments an interesting investment, or is everybody leaving the city? Is this maybe a time to work on some of that weakness that's out there? Which cities are going to see the best price growth, and in turn higher rent yields? Because remember, once you bought the property, you have locked in what your investment in the property is, but rents can always go up and down. And if you're in a growing market like Florida is, like Texas is, and other states as well, then there's an upside that if you can buy it at a discount, if you can find a quote unquote very motivated seller, then that could be very interesting. And is rental income property the right investment over the next several years? Now, we didn't get a chance to go into some of the specific numbers, but I'll give you one last tip before we finish up the show. There's something called the 1% rule. And that is that on average, the rents generally in normal markets amount to 1% of the property value. Anything that you can buy at below that 1% is an interesting buy, especially today. Anything above that, then it's buyer beware, and you've got to do a more in-depth analysis of the rents and the costs. So again, if you want to get that report, 561-861-2366, text the word landlord, and we'll follow it up with a copy of that report. That's 561-861-2366, or give us a call at toll free 888-595-7779. That's 888-595-7779. And if you can always reach us on our website at automaticlandlord.com. That's automaticlandlord.com. Well, that's it for today's show. This is Eric Willner signing off for the ATM edition of the Real Estate Show. We'll be back again tomorrow, same place, same time, for our weekly wrap up. So don't miss that show. We'll see you then tomorrow. Until then, drive safe, wash those hands, and make it a great day. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to The Real Estate Show, brought to you by Capital One Group LLC. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. And Capital One Group LLC are available to assist you with your financial needs. And we are now offline. Let's see here. Let's power down our recording on YouTube and stream. And yes.